What's up everyone, this is Marcus at TradeSmith and I'm going to show you a new program that I joined called Warrior Trading Pro, and that is a program that I am been doing for 6 weeks, and I'm going to show you exactly what I plan to do with this small account challenge. So good morning everyone. Today I decided to jump off the sidelines and jump into a trade. I've been really focused a lot on options trading and doing a lot of other trading courses on swing trading, and really just becoming a better trader overall is what my overall goal is by the end of this year. But I have been really making other videos about some of the tools that I'm using, so check those out. I really did not want to trade because every day I've been watching on my scanners the top items or the top stocks fade in the morning. So I have been watching that, been a little disappointed. I am a long bias trader, so I want to trade more so on the long side. So I'm just waiting on some of these stocks to resolve early in the day, but you see a sort of a sell-off, and then of course some of them rebound later in the day, but by then I'm at work, so no chance for me. So what I did notice today was that NVUS, which did have some news, did have a lot of volume, so I did want to try to jump into that. And then of course I wanted to get a trade in on EQ. So those are the two stocks that I traded. You can see the overall results, just up $90 today. Very choppy, had a lot of false breakouts on NVUS. So let's look at those trades and then let's go to EQ. I didn't get the first few trades on the NVUS, but I did want to just show that it was pretty much choppy, had a really good pre-market ascension here, but then it began to go sideways, and I'm looking for it to break that high of day, which was that 130, 135 mark. So I kept teetering on getting in around 25, 29 on some trades, and then of course it never really resolved. Really wanted to see it break that 35, so I did waste my time there. Overall lost about $60, but one thing you want to look at is that, you know, really just I could have done better job here just trading in the box, just buying the lows here and letting it go up and retest. So I did notice that that was more of a pattern during this time of the year. Seemed like it's been a lot more false breakouts than anything in a lot of the charts that I've been seeing. So anticipating the false breakout, I'll just go ahead and get in early. First candle to make a new high is a strategy that I should adopt right now, and that's what I did more so on EQ. So let's go look at the EQ trade. Of course, while I was trading this, I was looking at EQ over here on my high day Momo scanner, which is an important tool to use to keep up with what's going on. But as I was trading this, I decided to, you know, once I finish this, I'm going to see what EQ is all about. So let's look at that trade and see what happened. So of course, as I'm looking at some of these stocks, I'm really just focused on A+ trades. So I really only want to focus on those trades that really set me up for you know, have exact specs that I'm looking for. I'll get into that later where I talk about exactly what is an A+ trade for me. But long story short, it has to have that short float for the day, and of course the amount of volume, the price, as well as it needs to form some type of bullish signal. So here is bull flags looking at the first 5-minute candle that make a new high, as well as a 1 minute. So this was multi-time frame alignment, which is what made me want to definitely jump in. So I got in at 686, but I'm anticipating a break of 7. So I saw that immediately it kind of bumped its head against 7, and you do have a few sellers here on level 2. So I did hold off, and you can see for some reason it can't break 7 and it keeps coming back. So I just got out, and I wanted to wait until the next time it breaks 7. So here again, I'm worried about the false breakouts. So I'm thinking that again, you can see that, you know, there's times that it bumped its head up against 7, which would have been the high of day, even though it wasn't the pre-market high, but it was definitely giving signals that it can do a false breakout. So I wanted to step back and wait on it to come back to one of the low points or the support areas, and then get back in. one thing you can see that I'm doing is I'm looking at these candles and I'm looking at the highs and the lows. So I'm looking at, if I look at a bull flag, I'm looking at the actual post, which is here. So I'm looking at the high of that post, which is right at the $7 mark. But I'm realizing that if I try to enter in at $7, that may not be the best entry. So I'm looking at the next post, which is I'm looking at the low of 65. And I'm looking at possibly a good area of support. And I'm looking at the third candle here, which is giving me a high and a low as well. So I'm looking at those to see when will be a good entry point. And I'm looking at what are the areas of support. And you can see I'm looking across here at this area of support. So I would be interested in buying low and anticipating the retest to that $7. So that was my overall strategy, but I did again want a good multi-frame alignment, which means I wanted a 1 minute candle to make a new high. At this point, I'm looking at these candles here, and it's not the best chart within the software that I do have, but at this point I knew that I could take a shot at getting back in at 684, and I wanted to see it resolve right away, but I noticed that it did have a little bit of choppiness there, and it actually pulled back a little bit. But remember, I looked at that major support area at 65, so I'm actually willing to let it drop down to at least low 70, but I just held on to it and then wanted to see how it resolved. Even here, a few minutes later, I noticed that it actually pulled back. I think it's about 2 minutes later, it pulled back into areas that, definitely I wanted to keep an eye on. Went back to the low 70s, and I wanted to see if it break that 70 mark. But if it didn't break, which probably would have been a good entry if I got in at 70, but that would have been just, hindsight 2020. But I wanted to see it test. I wanted to buy it off of the lows of that bull flag and go into potentially I'm looking for a false breakout. But if it doesn't have a false breakout, that is even icing on the cake. So I'm still looking and still anticipating that break. Okay, once I begin to see that it's making a move at this point, it began to cross that 686 mark, and I noticed that it slowly at this point start to try to creep back up. And at this point, I'm just kind of looking at that first 5 minute candle that just came in, and it's a 5 minute candle to make a new high, which is really great in my favor. So a lot of work for this trade, a lot of works for the trades that I've been seeing in August and September, especially in these small caps. So it's a lot of work for this $90 that I'm gonna make, but at the end of the day, it's really good practice to see what's going on in the market overall. And if you can master these small caps, definitely you definitely have the fortitude to go into some of the other areas. So I definitely was watching it as it began to creep up again, and when it hit that $7 mark, I was wondering if it's gonna stop at that point. So I did have my hand over to my sell button, which I was gonna sell on the axe right around 707, and then of course I saw that it automatically just start popping up. Well, not automatically, I just saw that the sellers gave in, and it went a little bit over the 710 mark and went up from 710 to 720. And at this point, I'm looking to pay myself, and I did try to hit the to sell on the axe. At some point, it did not go through. Very late on it, so I'm gonna look at my footage again. I want to get to the point where I'm quicker and pay myself earlier. So that's something that is good for you to record your trades, because you can see where you just may be a little short or a little slow at, and areas that you can speed up. So I want to get better at that. Anticipate when it hit those areas. It's almost like a rubber band. It will snap back at some point. So definitely wanted to see that trade live in action again to see what I can improve on. Overall, $150 on that trade. But I do want to remind myself that I'm I'm gonna stick to my trade plan, not gonna trade anymore. You can see that it actually began to fade off, went under the VWAP after that, so it kind of easily became something that you can just walk away from at that point. But definitely made $90 today. I'm gonna put that into the till, and I'm gonna keep working to be a sharper trader. You will see that I will be doing videos on some of the technology that I'm using, and then of course some of the hardware as well as software that I'm using to become a better trader. Get that out of the way, and then I can move on to having those technologies remove the process of all the emotion in the trades and be able to focus just on trading. So if you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe. We will be making more videos in this small account challenge, but there will be other areas that we're going to talk about, which is some of the equipment and tools that you use to trade. Smith Trade is just like a smithy. We deal with a lot of the technology and a lot of the metallurgic arts that we use in order to craft these trades. Again, if you got to have the right tool before you go into battle, that's what you want to do, is make sure that you get familiar with them, get into a simulator, get into some of these accounts and start practicing until you sharpen your sword. Then you're ready for battle. That's what TradeSmith is all about. So definitely see you later. This is a new channel. For more tips and tricks on trading technology, hit the like button and go to tradesmith.io.